Welcome to today's Explainer. Look, if you're in IT, you already know the infrastructure landscape is shifting underneath us, fast. So today, we're cutting straight through the noise and taking a direct route into containers and orchestration. We're going to break down exactly what this tech is, why the industry shifted to it, and how you can master it for production.
Here's our roadmap for today. 1. The deployment problem. 2. VMs versus containers. 3. Unpacking the Union file system. 4. The Docker deep dive. And 5. Your Kubernetes roadmap. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The deployment problem.
All right, if you've spent any time at all in software development, you have absolutely lived this nightmare. Why on earth do applications behave so differently across development, staging, and production environments? I mean, you built it, it passes all the tests, but the literal exact moment it hits a new server, it completely crashes. So what is actually going on here?
The classic, incredibly frustrating, it works on my machine defense. We've all heard it, right? And honestly, we've probably all said it. You've got a developer sitting there pulling their hair out, just staring at error messages because the code runs perfectly fine on their laptop, but fails spectacularly in production. The root cause of this headache almost always comes down to the environment. We're talking about differing dependencies, mismatched OS libraries, and weird configuration files between different machines. When the underlying environment isn't perfectly identical, unpredictable failure is just inevitable. It's a massive drain on your time and your resources.
So how do we actually fix that root cause? Well, that brings us to the container promise. Instead of just moving the app code from machine to machine and, crossing your fingers that the environments match up, you package everything that application needs into one single, highly portable unit. That means the code, the dependencies, the OS libraries, the configuration, the whole shebang all bundled together. Because the environment is locked tightly inside the container right alongside the app itself, that container is going to run identically anywhere. Dev, staging, production, your laptop, the cloud, it literally does not matter. The unpredictability is totally gone.
Moving on to Section 2, VMs versus containers. Now, this is where the architectural shift becomes incredibly clear. The old school way of isolating applications, virtual machines, relies on heavy, full hardware emulation. That means every single VM has to drag around its very own unique operating system kernel. And because you're booting a full OS from scratch every single time, VMs chew up gigabytes of RAM and take literal minutes to boot up. Sure, they're isolated, but they are incredibly heavy. Containers, on the other hand, totally different approach. Instead of emulating hardware and running a separate OS, containers just share the host OS kernel. They run simply as isolated user space processes. Because they skip that whole booting a full OS step, they are incredibly lightweight, often measured in megabytes rather than gigabytes. And instead of taking minutes to boot, containers start in seconds, fast, efficient, and highly portable.
Section 3, Unpacking the Union file system. Okay, so we know containers are lightweight, but the secret sauce that actually makes this efficiency possible is the Union file system, specifically technologies like OverlayFS. You kind of have to think of a container not as one single massive file, but like a giant puzzle made of stacked layers. OverlayFS lets these file system layers be neatly stacked on top of each other. But here is the absolutely crucial part to understand. All the base layers, the OS libraries, the dependencies, they are strictly read-only. When you spin up a container, OverlayFS stacks those read-only layers and then just slaps one thin, writable layer right on the very top. Only that top layer can be changed. Why does this matter in practice? Well, think about it. If you have 10 containers running the exact same base image, they're all sharing those exact same read-only layers on your disk. You aren't copying the whole OS 10 times over. You're just making 10 tiny, writable layers. That is exactly how containers maximize storage efficiency and keep performance blazing fast.
Section 4, the Docker deep dive. Enter Docker. It is the world's most popular container platform for a very, very good reason. Basically, it took some pretty complex Linux tech, like those shared kernels and stacked file systems we were just talking about, and made them accessible to everyone. Docker provides IT professionals with the complete toolkit to build, ship, and run containers with absolute confidence. It's essentially the vital bridge between all this container theory and the practical, day-to-day application of it.
But to really use Docker effectively, we've got to understand its core architecture. It fundamentally breaks down into two main components. First up is the Docker engine. This is the heavy lifter. It's a daemon process, known as Dockered, that just runs silently in the background on your host machine. The engine is the thing actually doing the hard work of creating, managing, and tearing down your containers. Second is the Docker CLI, or command line interface. This is the part you actually interact with. When you type a command into your terminal, you're using the CLI to instruct the Docker engine daemon. And hey, keeping this separation in mind is critical, because when things eventually break, and they will, knowing whether it's the backend daemon failing or just a simple CLI syntax error is going to save you hours of frustrating troubleshooting.
Section 5. Your Kubernetes Roadmap.
Look, learning Kubernetes can feel completely overwhelming at first. It's a beast. But you can break it down into a highly actionable, progressive 8-week plan. Let's say you've spent the first couple of weeks getting comfortable with Docker. Here is your path to orchestration. In weeks 3 and 4, you focus purely on Kubernetes basics. You learn how to deploy apps using the kubectl command line. You absolutely must understand the fundamental building blocks here: pods, deployments, and services. Then, in weeks 5 and 6, we go deeper. Once you've got the basics down, you tackle how things actually connect and scale in real clusters. So you'll study Kubernetes networking, persistent storage, role-based access control or RBAC, and auto-scaling. Finally, in weeks 7 and 8, you focus on becoming production ready. This is where you learn what it takes to run Kubernetes in the real world. You'll cover observability, security hardening, GitOps workflows, and how to utilize managed services. It's a structured path taking you right from a simple pod up to managing a highly secure, scalable infrastructure.
And to give this roadmap a really concrete destination, aim for the certifications. The CKA and CKAD, the Certified Kubernetes Administrator and Application Developer, are universally recognized as the industry gold standards. These aren't just simple multiple choice tests, no way. They are rigorous, hands-on, performance-based exams. Going after these once you finish your roadmap gives you a clear, career-defining target. It proves to the industry that you don't just know the theory, you can actually get in there and execute in a live production environment.
Which brings us to our final thought for today. Are you ready to finally leave "it works on my machine" in the past? I mean, we've covered the massive efficiency gains containers have over traditional VMs, the absolute magic of union file systems, Docker's architecture, and your very own roadmap to Kubernetes orchestration. The tools to solve the deployment problem are sitting right in front of you. The only thing left to do is build. Thanks so much for joining this explainer, and we'll see you next time.